Yes, ma'am.
Solutions, shall we start? So kindly make Nazia as the co-host. Kindly make Nazia to be co-host so that she can share the screen.
Yeah, done, madam.
Thank you, sir. And the very informative resource person today here, Ma'am Nazia. So shortly I will introduce Ma'am. Ma'am Nazia, she was working as a training coordinator at Andhra Pradesh Human Resource Development Institute in the Andhra Pradesh state, more than 5 years. But now she's working as a research officer at Child-Centric Disaster Risk Reduction Center, National Institute of Disaster Management, Government of India. So ma'am will be dealing on the topic home-to-home school safety. So we will learn a lot from ma'am, and all the participants, please, you can ask many questions after the presentation of ma'am. And this topic is also very important because whenever we face certain disaster, so all the schools are closed at that time, how much the caregivers and the parents can take care for children when they stay at home. And we face a lot of problems during COVID-19 pandemic also. At that time, many parents, caretakers, and even the children, they suffer a lot because schools are closed. So this is also very important. And in Manipur itself, it's likely to have flood because in many parts of the Manipur, water level is very high. So still we are going to start problem for this flood problem. Is very important, and it will be very useful to all the teachers as well as parents and all the participants, and even the students also, when you have the children at home, how to take care for them during such kind of disaster time. So all the participants, I like to request you to be active participant like the way you have done yesterday. I'm very happy that around 300 participants we had yesterday. So hopefully we can have that number also today. Now it's more than 100. So I hope that in between more participants will join. Thank you so much, all the participants once again. And I would like to welcome Ma'am Nazia to carry on for the program. Please, ma'am.
Ma'am, is it my screen is visible, ma'am?
Yes, very clearly it is visible, ma'am. So dear participants, kindly check your background noise. Thank you.
Good morning, one and all. Welcome to the second day of the child 3-day online training program on child-centric disaster risk reduction. And thank you, Sobita ma'am, for your kind words regarding to me. And today my topic is home-to-home school safety. This is school safety is one of the most important topic and interesting also. Here there are mainly two aspects. The first one is creation of a safe environment for children, and the second one is this is one type of inculcation of a culture, because children are next generation, and they may will become teachers, doctors, engineers, task force, and professionals in many fields. So if they have that culture only, this inculcation of safety will come in all aspects. Okay, that's why it is very important topic. Okay, in this session we will cover what is school safety, what are all the aspects, and then how we can implement school safety in our schools, what is the procedure, and what is school disaster management plan, and what is school disaster management committee, and hazard hunt, what are all the possible hazards, how we identify the hazards. So this presentation will cover all these aspects. Okay. School safety has been defined as creating a safe environment for children starting from their homes to their schools and back. Okay, this includes safety from any kind of abuse, violence, psychosocial issues, natural and man-made disasters. Child abuse means slapping, pinching, and kicking. Violence. According to World Health Organization, it is estimated that up to 1 billion children between the age 2 to 17 years having an experience of physical violence, sexual violence, and emotional violence in the past 1 year. Next, psychosocial issue. That means behavioral and emotional problems. It was very difficult to children, and it was very difficult to teachers and parents to find out the emotional problems and the difficulties in children. Tomorrow we have another session on mental health issues of children. We can discuss elaborately in that session regarding this child abuse, violence, and psychosocial. Next, natural disaster. Floods, earthquake, tsunami, cyclones, all comes under this natural disasters. Man-made means fire accident and transport accidents. In school safety, there are mainly 3 pillars. The first one is safe learning facilities. That means creation of a safe learning facility for children, not only for children, for teaching staff and non-teaching staff also. Okay. Next one is school disaster management. At the end of the session, we will definitely learn about how we can prepare a school disaster management plan. Next one is risk reduction and resilience education. This will covers all aspects and activities related to risk reduction and resilience education. These are all the 3 main pillars of the school safety. Global and national framework and initiatives in school safety. The Hugo Framework for Action 2005 to 15 and Sandai Framework for Disaster Risk Reduction 2015 to 2030. These are some of the global and national framework initiatives in school safety. I am not going to in detail because we have to discuss a lot of things to cover. These are the framework committed to do. Just you can remember these 2 things. What can we do? We can do a lot of things. First one is structural measures and the second one is non-structural measures. Structural measures means infrastructure related. Non-structural means capacity building, trainings, policies, all comes under this non-structural. So all these things will explain in detail. Structural building. What are the guidelines for the structural building of school? First one, building needs to be certified. That means the building needs to be certified as safe for student by local authority. Local authority means by the local Panchayati Raj department or municipal administration department. And the school building shall preferably A-class construction with bricks, stones, and walls with RCC roofing. Okay. And the nursery and elementary schools should be household on the ground floor. Number of floors in school building shall be restricted to 3, including ground floor. Okay. And the school building shall be free from inflammable and toxic materials. Which if necessary should be stored away from the school building. And the school building have to be insured against fire and natural calamities. If any loss happened during that policy, that company will pay amount to that school. That's why school buildings have to be insured against fire and natural calamities. Kitchen and other activities involving use of fire shall be carried out in a secure and a location from be away from the school. Okay. And all schools shall have water storage tank daily covered and protected. And CCTV in schools need to be monitored and maintained regularly. Next, classroom. To maintain classroom hygiene, the classrooms should be whitewashed at a periodic intervals and dusted regularly. The windows should be secure and there should be no broken glasses. And blackboards are attached to the wall of the classroom. In case of loosely placed blackboard in the classroom, there is a possibility in accidents, both major and minor, to the children while moving around the classroom. While constructing a school building, provision of adequate ventilators and windows in the class should be considered. Because air flowing through the ventilators keeps the classroom airy and fresh, and the children also feels fresh and energetic. Classroom floor should not be broken, uneven, may needed to be required and maintained time to time. The laboratory. The space for free mobility for students in case of an emergency must be maintained, and the chemicals instrument must be kept safely beyond the easy access of children and should be used under only supervision. And the first aid box must be made available in the lab. And there should be an exhaust facility for the gases in laboratory. And the school team must be trained to meet any emergency in the laboratory. These are the guidelines for the laboratory. Next one is kitchen. The kitchen cum store should be located in a clean and open place and free from dirty surroundings, and should maintain overall hygienic environment. Okay. The premises should be clean and adequately lighted and ventilated. The floors, ceilings, and walls must be maintained in a sound condition. And one more important thing is no spraying should be done during the cooking of the midday meal. But instead of fly spats, flaps should be used to kill flies and getting into the premises. Windows, doors, and openings should be fitted with a net or screen. And there should be efficient drainage system, and there should be adequate provisions for disposal of refuse. These are some of the guidelines of the kitchen. Many documents, including Right to Education Act 2009 and the Ministry of Human Resource Development circular to the states, talk that specifically about toilet standards to be maintained in schools. Those are Toilets must be located in the school premises. There must be separate toilets for girls and boys, and separate toilets as per the norms, and availability of soap for washing hands should be ensured by the school, and all the toilets preferably needed to have running water facility, and all the toilets must have doors for ensuring safety and privacy of children, and the school need to have clean and working method of disposing waste material, especially for girls, and toilets must be cleaned on daily basis. Next, drinking water. Safe and adequate drinking water should be made available to the children within the school premises, and safety quality of water must be checked on regular basis by concerned authority. The source of water should be free from microbial and chemical and other contaminations, and the water should be served using ladles with long handles and taps. Ministry of Education also introduced one standard operating procedures for drinking water in schools, which is available in the website of Ministry of Education. And in case the school has a water purifier, the instructions for usage of serving must be displayed near it. And these are some of the barriers free access. Ramps must be constructed to provide access at the entry level to the school, classrooms, toilets, playground, library, canteen, and an emergency and evacuation plan of the school should be also be in Braille language. And it is also important to list all of the children with disabilities in school must be prepared, and training must be provided to teachers and other staff to understand their limitations. These are the barrier-free access for disabled children. These are the most priority areas. Most of the states are highly vulnerable to cyclones. In related to schools, fire, heat waves, snake bite, drought, chemical hazard, road safety, lightning, and heat hazard. These are the most probable areas. DRR calendar. DRR means disaster risk reduction. I think we don't have this type of calendar in our schools. We have activity calendar. This is also important, so we can include these aspects in our school activity calendar. This is a just a format. I will explain in detail. Seasonal DRR activity calendar means there are lots of seasonal hazards are there. Example, cyclone. We know during June and July. Heat waves, April and May. These months. Before that, we must have need to have preparedness measures, capacity building, orientation programs to children, and maybe some structural measures we have to establish. These things will cover under this seasonal DRR calendar, and mocks exercise also. If we prepare this kind of calendar in our schools, then we can have a very good resilience to mitigate the impact of the disasters. School Disaster Management Committee. Orientation and sensitization of workshop. This is most important one. We have to give orientation training to the teachers, children's, and parents also. Step 2 is formation of disaster management committee and hazard vulnerability risk capacity analysis. By using step 1, 2, and 3, we can prepare a school disaster management plan. And I will explain one by one in detail. And formation and skill development of DM teams, capacity building of teachers, students, parents, and staff, regular mock exercises, structural mitigation measures, resource inventory, evaluation and updating of DM plans. And some safety audits are frameworks are there. I will explain one by one. This is the suggested committee. In this committee, principal, vice principal, physical education teacher, representative from panchayat, representative from nearest fire station, and police station, health. Here in disaster management, convergence between the departments is important because fire audit, teachers cannot do the fire audit. First aid team, teachers cannot do the first aid team. So we need to take help from the health department. For fire audit, we can take the help from the fire departments. That's why convergence between the departments is must and should. School disaster management plan. In school disaster management plan, there are mainly two components. First one is hazard identification. Next one is response plan. In hazard identification, structural assessment. Already we have discussed about the structural assessment, school building, classrooms, toilets, kitchen, all those. The next one is non-structural assessment. That means training, capacity building, all comes under this non-structural assessment. And resource inventory. Resource inventory formats are there. I will explain. And mitigation of hazard identified, evacuation plan also is there. We will discuss one by one. Hazard vulnerability, risk capacity. We will call it as classroom hazard hunt. This format is visible, sir. Classroom hazard hunt. Hello, sir. Hello.
Yeah,
Bali,
ma'am,
sir.
please continue.
Is the classroom hazard hunt format is visible, sir?
Yes, yes, very clearly visible, ma'am. Please
Okay,
carry on.
thank you. This is the format of classroom hazard hunt. First one is we have discussed disaster management plan with our teachers and classmates. If you have done, you can tick here as, otherwise no. And we have identified possible disasters that can affect our schools and its surroundings. Yes, you can tick here as, otherwise no.
Requesting Miss Mercy to kindly mute your mic. Miss Mercy, please kindly mute your mic.
Yeah, Madam Marcy, please mute yourself.
Repeating Mercy, Miss Mercy. Mercy, kindly mute your mic. The host, otherwise you can mute. Host or the technical person who is handling the platform, you may mute the person. May I know who is handling the platform?
And what are the possible hazards are there in our area, where our school is located, where it is a cyclone prone area, or it is located at a flood prone area, and what is the probability, high, medium, or low, and so that we can have an idea there may be a chance of cyclone or flood. Okay, and there may be a chance of heat wave. If heat wave impact is there, what are all the precautions children have to take care during March and April, March, April and May. If the school is located in the industrial area, if factories are there, industries are there, then what are all the precautionary measures we have to take mitigate the disasters based on the probability. We need to align the disasters. And if your school is located at hazardous factory, and we need to maintain this database also. If it is very close to your school, how much it is far away, and if any chemical factory is there, daily tankers are going, and what are all the preparedness measures we need to take. And if it is busy road, then the school safety measures we need to take. If it is a river or water body, there may be a drowning chances. These are just examples of possible hazards. Only whatever things which can impact the safety of children, you can list it out. That is the task here. Okay, and we need to maintain this database in our schools also. Emergency control room name and distance from school, and the telephone number and helpline, local hospital address and the distance from school, telephone numbers, fire station, police station addresses, distance from school and telephones. These are all the database we need to maintain in our schools. Safety audits. Already I have told you, in disaster management, we need there is an importance of convergence between the departments. Disaster management is not only the responsibility of state disaster management or district disaster management authority. Okay, these are the some of these safety audits are suggested below, which can be done in consultation with various agencies. The building audit, it can be done with the help of PWD department. That means Public Works Department, Roads and Building, Municipal Administration. And fire safety audit, it can be done with the help of local fire department. Food safety audit, it can be done with through midday meal inspector or health inspector under the civil supplies department. And water sanitation audit, it can be done through municipal corporation, municipality, rural water supply, RWS, and school administration and health department. Electric safety audit, it can be done with the help of electricity department. Time framework, different audits are inspection of midday meal every month, washroom inspection every month, and inspection of drinking water safety every month, fire safety audit once in a year, electrical safety audit once in a year, building audit once in 3 years. These are the time frames for different audits. Okay. School task forces: search and rescue team, first aid team, evacuation team, transport management team, site security team, and fire safety team. These are the teams. We can prepare these teams, including teachers, children, and parents. This school safety not only restricted to teachers and children. We need to involve parents also, because the safety should start from their homes. Okay. Incident commander is the higher authority. He will give commands. All this rescue team works under this incident commander. If, for example, if incident happened at local level, then Tahsildar is the incident commander. If incident happened at district level, then district collector is the incident commander. If incident happened at state level, then relief commissioner is the incident commander. Okay. This is the suggested structure of school disaster management committee. Under this commander, this rescue team will come. So based on category, we need to give the orientation training. Search and rescue team means fire and SDRF. SDRF means state disaster responsive force. In each state, SDRF department is there. In that, well-trained persons are there. We call them as battalions. We need to take the help from SDRF also during the disasters. First aid team means health department. Evacuation team means police department. We can take help from police department. Transport management team means we can take help from transport department. Site security team, we can take help from police. Fire safety team, we can take help from the fire department. These are the school task forces. Next, resource inventory. Every school must have a resource inventory. In resource inventory, you can include a resource map. A resource map is nothing. You can prepare a map. You can point out to school and what are all the facilities and police station, how far it is, and any swimming experts are there, any first aid experts are there, so that these experts may be included in that map. By looking at that map, you can have an idea of these groups are there, these experts are there, and you can add contact details also. This can be exhibited in a common area. If any new person comes also, he must having some understanding by looking at this. That is why we have to exhibit in a common area. And this map also must include the following features: number of classrooms in the school, number of staff and principal, vice principal's room, toilets and other rooms, various labs such as physics, chemistry, biology and computer, playground and open spaces. Okay. Next, evacuation map. This is the small example of evacuation map. These are all the classrooms. This is the common assembling area. Everybody must know about this common area so that any disaster, fire breakout, or may earthquake, or whatever may happen, everybody must assemble here. Okay. So here, what is the important of common assembling area means we can take the number of head-to-head count, and we have to conduct a regular mock exercise. Everybody must be trained in this evacuation map. These are some of the do's and don'ts, particularly each hazard: cyclone, earthquake, flood, fire, lightning. Pictures are given here. Pictures are given here so that we can exhibit in a common area, so that students will look into it every day. Into that will become familiar. Okay. And these are the some of the international scenarios. On December 7, 1988, Armenia earthquake, thousands of school children killed, including 400 at an elementary school. And May 10, 1997, Ardakul earthquake, 110 10 students killed. And September 21st, 1919, Gigi Tiwan earthquake, a total of 700 schools nationwide were damaged. And May 12, 2008, Sichuan earthquake, death of 19,000 students and destruction of about 7,000 schools. In 1995, the Bawali fire in Haryana, over 400 people, nearly half of them students, were burned alive in school's award ceremony. In 2001, Bhuj earthquake in Gujarat, a total of 31 teachers and 971 students perished and the injured count 95 and 1,051 respectively. These are the some national scenarios. In 2004 Kumbakonam, 94 children burned to death while 18 others were seriously injured in Tamil Nadu. In 2005 devastating earthquake in Jammu Kashmir, 19,000 children dead and widespread collapse of school buildings. And UNICEF estimates death of 8.8 lakh children due to COVID-19 in South Asia, maximum from India. These are the UNICEF estimations during COVID-19. These are the paper clippings of some of the incidents happened in India. Surat Coaching Center, Surat Coaching Center 5, 20 students killed and some fell to death. And in Noida, 2 students died and 5 injured in Salapur school wall collapse. And 85 students fall ill after eating midday meal in Bihar school. And baby dies after fall from balcony in Bangalore. These are the some of the incidents happened in India. These are the some incidents in Andhra Pradesh. And 25 children injured as school bus skids off road in Himachal, and 40 students injured in bus accident in Uttar Pradesh, and school bus rolls over 3 children injured at West Godavari district. These are the some of the incidents. See here, Himachal Pradesh, 30 including 27 kids and killed in school bus accident 9th April 2018. Moral of the story: safety is not a state of mind. Safety doesn't happen by accident. It happens by best practices. Hence, school bus safety handbook is needed for the of the hour. We must have proper guideline from home to school and back to home. That is why school safety handbook is introduced. So these are the some of the incident. Every school must have road hazard analysis. Already we have analysis for school. In the same way, starting from home to school and back to home, what are all the possible hazards are there? You can list it out, and what are all the possible measures can happen that we need to integrate. This is called road hazard analysis. And we need to organize 1 or 2 trainings for school drivers also, and definitely we can involve the transport department, and then strict rules will come, strict instructions will come. Otherwise they will continue with the same. These are the some of the standard requirement for buses. The bus must be golden color, and details mentioned in the inside and outside of the bus, and emergency exit provision, seat belts, tamper roof, speed governor with maximum speed limit. These are the some of the standard requirement for buses. And school bus inspection procedure, we can must involve the transport department also. Some sort of hazards we can remove physically. For example, if the route is not good for transportation, we can suggest for another route. And also we can physically removing the hazard and replacing the road hazards by building barriers and constructing speed breakers on the roads, installing speed limits, uh, rollover protection devices, GPS, and implementing or making rules and guidelines. These are some of the hazards we can remove physically. This is the innovative unique technology bus. After the incidents of Kumbakonam and Dabwali, Haryana, Supreme Court on 13/4/2009 has given detailed guidelines and ordered that all government and private schools in the country must follow safety measures prescribed by National Building Code of India 2005, and all existing government and private schools shall install fire extinguish equipment within a period of 6 months, and school buildings are to be kept free from inflammable and toxic materials are stored safely. Already we have discussed all these things. And National Disaster Management Authority, in partnership with 22 states, implemented National School Safety Program in 8,600 schools in 43 districts spread over 22 states and UTs of the country. The primary objective of the National School Safety Policy is to ensure and creation of a safe environment for children. Already we have discussed how we can create a safe environment children and what are the guidelines. And this would require a collaborative approach between the state education department and state disaster management missionary. Already I mentioned that point. Disaster management is not only the responsibility of disaster management, convergence between the department is important. Okay, these are the some of the state initiatives. Government of Assam has made it compulsory for all schools to have a disaster management plan. In the same way, Gujarat government initiated 2 programs, namely Gujarat School Safety Initiative 1 and 2. In Gujarat School Safety Initiative 1, the program focused on 152 schools by covering 1 lakh students and 1,500 teachers on the basis of disaster management. In phase 2, Gujarat disaster management has developed master trainers. Okay, in the same way, Himachal Pradesh also have a disaster management plan in all schools. Apart from that, Tamil Nadu and Haryana also, government also made it compulsory for all schools to have a disaster management plan. So far, we have discussed about the structural and non-structural measures, and it is important that each school should develop and implement to maintain an effective and health and hygiene management system, so that we can protect and promoting the health and hygiene and welfare of a child. Indian Public Health, Ministry of Indian Public Health introduces some guidelines, screening of general health, assessment of anemia, nutritional status, skin condition, heart defects, physical disabilities, learning disorders, behavior problems should be periodically done in schools once in a 3 months. And the schools should have immunization program to protect the children from infectious diseases through vaccination. For example, measles, mumps, rubella with MMR vaccine, and tetanus, diphtheria, pertussis, polio with TDAP vaccine, and human papilloma virus HPV with HPV vaccine. Okay, and 6 monthly dose for deworming and vitamin A supplementation, and weekly iron and folic acid supplement, and zinc and other appropriate supplementation depending on common deficiencies and common deficiencies found in the local area. And menstrual hygiene management facilities, including soap, adequate and private space for changing, adequate water for bath washing, and disposal facilities for menstrual waste, including incinerators or dustbins, should be ensured by every school. And daily hand washing with soap before midday meal should be done by children and MDM staff with sufficient group and hand washing facility. These are the some of the guidelines of the Indian Public Health. Okay. This is about the school safety. What are the structural measures, non-structural measures? That's all. And I request host to play a video of the school safety.
Children are the future of our nation and society. Growth, well-being, and welfare of the humanity lie on their tender shoulders. It is our sacred duty to facilitate and enable them to carry out this responsibility in a befitting manner. Children are most susceptible and exposed to life-threatening dangers during disasters. Younger the children, greater is their vulnerability to disaster due to the inability to escape hazardous and risky situations. The grim fact that almost half of all victims of natural disasters are children under the age of 15 highlights the magnitude of vulnerability of our children. Each time a disaster occurs, masses of children are excluded from school. Many never to return. In the last 2 decades, India has witnessed many terrible tragedies. Snatching away scores of our precious little lives before they could bloom into their fuller potential. Why? Because most of our schools are located in vulnerable areas and are housed in weak and unsafe buildings. More importantly, they are dismally underprepared to respond to emergencies. The UN Convention on the Rights of the Child 1990 recognizes that every child has both the inherent right to life and the right to education. The danger faced by our schools by known, expected, and recurring hydrometeorological and geophysical hazards threaten both of these rights. Therefore, deliberate proactive steps are needed to ensure that every school is a safe school and that children's education includes the knowledge they need to keep themselves and future generations safe. We have to keep in mind that not all disasters strike the school directly and immediately. Sometimes schools are affected indirectly through students, staff, and their families. Disasters have manifold negative impacts on the schools. It includes physical, educational, economical, and psychosocial impacts. To mitigate these impacts, National School Safety Policy Guidelines were formulated. The guidelines stand for a vision of India where all children and their teachers and other stakeholders in the school community are safe from any kind of risk due to natural hazards. The guidelines focus upon the urgent need to strengthen risk resilience of schools in urban as well as rural areas of the country. To achieve the aim of the National School Safety Policy, the National School Safety Program was put into implementation. The key to an effective school safety program lie in identifying and analyzing hazards, vulnerabilities, capacity and risk. Specifically, in context of a school, identification and assessment of HVCR is the first step towards school safety and disaster risk reduction. This exercise should be conducted in every school on a regular basis to keep the children safe and studies uninterrupted. It is important to remember that incorporating hazard-resistant features in school buildings is one of the topmost components of a safe school. Teachers and school staff should act as an informed client and ensure the safety aspect of the school structures. A large number of school buildings across the country do not adhere to the design and construction procedures laid down in the building codes brought out by the Bureau of Indian Standards. While constructing new school buildings, it is imperative to strictly adhere to safety codes. The architectural layout of the building and all related amenities should be properly designed and constructed utilizing the services of qualified experts. All the existing school buildings which do not adhere to the building codes should be retrofitted with the help of qualified experts and engineers to make them safe. Various non-structural elements also pose a severe threat to the staff and children in the event of a disaster. They include building contents such as furniture, appliances, coolers, water tanks, etc. Simple, well-thought exercises such as conducting non-structural hazard hunt activity like open electricity panels, live wires if any, improper placing of cupboards and furniture, obstructions in escape routes, sharp or heavy objects at height, flower pots on the balcony, structural cracks, false ceilings, hazardous materials in labs, etc. will help in mitigating risk to a certain extent. Simple mitigation measure such as securing and anchoring equipment and furniture that may present a threat during ground shaking, provision of locked panels, repair of structural cracks in building, etc., clearing obstruction in escape routes will be taken up to mitigate the threat posed by them. The school is a densely populated place and has small children that are one of the most vulnerable groups in the society. In the event of any disaster, children and teachers in an unsafe school building are at considerable risk. Therefore, every school must have its disaster management plan prepared by the school themselves. School disaster management plan is prepared after assessing specific threats to the particular school from various types of hazards. It provides planning related to response capacity and physical protection of students and staff in event of a disaster. School disaster management plan includes details regarding the geographical location of the school, number of students and teachers, identification of hazards and vulnerable locations, structural and non-structural assessment of that particular school, and database of past disasters, etc. It is also recommended to prepare a floor-wise detailed evacuation plan to trust emergency preparedness and update the same. Also, make sure to test the communication system and update the school plan at regular intervals. In order to ensure an effective school safety plan, it is imperative to form task forces at schools. Task forces are teams entrusted with specific responsibility in the scenario of a disaster. These task forces include awareness generation team, warning and information dissemination team, search and rescue team, first aid team, fire safety team. Middle schools and above, the task forces should be created at school and shall include children above the age group of 13 to 14, school staff and teachers as members. The task of coordination should be entrusted to senior teachers. While forming the teams, gender balance should be checked and adequate fresh training should be imparted to team members. In case of primary schools, task forces should be created around the school. Youth and people who are present during the school, as well as those residing in the vicinity of the school, should be the members of these task forces, which should be coordinated by senior teachers. It is important to note that children should not be involved in those task forces where there is a life risk. One of the important ways that schools develop response capacity skills and raise awareness of the need for assessment, planning, and risk reduction is by conducting regular emergency mock drills. Mock drills offer the opportunity to identify training needs, establish new reflexes, and teach through action and repetition. Knowledge about life-saving aspects should also be provided by holding first aid training, school disaster management plays an important part in child protection as well as in overall community disaster risk reduction. When children rely on public or special transportation to and from school, transportation planning and road safety become an integral part of school safety program. In this direction, it is advisable to form a bus safety team with the responsibility of ensuring safe boarding of all students on the school bus. It should regularly take feedback from the boarders about any violations of traffic rules by the driver. The situation in today's world is transforming at a rapid pace. Many factors. The threat from terrorists and extremists is one of the important factors to widen the scope of school safety program. Incidents like the Western school attack killing over 300 people, 186 of them children, Yobe school shooting in Nigeria, and the recent Peshawar school attack which claimed 141 precious lives, including that of 132 innocent students, have made us all think of inculcating this aspect, holistic concept of school safety. Children are the most vulnerable section of the society, but among them also, there are even more vulnerable groups, which include children with special needs, differently able children, and HIV-affected children, etc. Attending to their needs and issues in the event of a disaster forms an important part of the school safety program. Pursuing with the same inclusive approach, gender-specific issues should also be appropriately addressed. Children of different age react and emote differently in the event of a danger or a disaster. They should be provided psychosocial support according to their varying needs. Teachers play an important role in the psychosocial rehabilitation of the affected students. Therefore, training of teachers in this aspect forms an important part of the school safety program. With an effective school safety program, we can ensure minimal damage to school infrastructure and also save precious young lives. School safety program prepares us to handle emergencies and keep our children and staff safe. Must recognize that school safety is a dynamic process where every stakeholder has to contribute both at the collective as well as individual level to ensure the safety of the children who are the future of a society. Always keep this motto in mind. Be aware and prepare, not scared.
Okay, thank you, Ananda. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, ma'am. So, dear participants, if any question from your side, ma'am is here to clarify your doubts. So I could not see any question. Yes, one question, ma'am, one question. Ma'am, during flood in different region of a state, is it necessary to declare holiday even though the school is far away from the flood-prone area? One question is there from Kiran Thamzang.
Could you repeat it, ma'am, once again? I will also check.
Ma'am, you could see in the question
One.
answer also. Anyway, I will repeat the question again.
During
Ma'am, during flood in different region of a state, is it necessary to declare holiday even though the school is far away from the flood-prone area?
I request Balu sir, please answer that question.
Thank you, ma'am. Actually, it's not necessary to declare the holiday in all the places. If you feel that those area also will be affected or risk-prone zone, if those areas are also comes under risk zone, if possible, then you need to declare a holiday for all the places. If you find that those particular places are safe, there is no risk at all for the children, then not necessary, let them go to the school. So education is also important, at the same time their safety is also important, right? So if you feel that there is no risk in those particular places, no need to declare the holidays. Sometimes what happens when there is a heavy rain, the government or the state government used to declare a holiday for only those districts. So similarly, you can identify the high risk districts or the blocks where you can declare a holiday. Not necessary to declare holiday for entire state, right? But if you feel that it's a entire state is in the risk, then you can go for a announcing holiday for the entire state.
Thank you, sir. Yes, regarding this question, what I feel is that if the school is far away from the flood area, but students are from different areas, so that is why students may be from the flood-prone area. So that is why I feel if some areas where there's some students are staying in the flood-prone area, then better to close the institution, because some of the students will miss the classes. So whenever there is a affected areas where the students are staying, then better to close it. This is what I feel.
Exactly, ma'am, you're right. So we need to see from where the students are coming.
Yes,
When
yes.
they are coming, the children who are residing there in their residence also, if comes under risk zone, that we need to think of it, because they need to cross or they need to come
Yes.
via that places. So we have to think of it. Exactly.
Yes, some students can attend the class, but some may not. So we have to see the grievances for all the students who are studying in that particular institution.
Exactly. And there is another question about the DRR timetable. It's not a timetable, it's a DRR timeline, or we can say seasonal mapping, thematic seasonal mapping to understand the disasters. It's not making the children to get fear, to make them to understand in which month or in which type of disaster will come, so that we can prepare ourselves. When you know your hazards or the risk, so that you can prepare yourself. So the way we have to build their capacity, the way we have to educate them to not get panic or to not get fear, right? So we have to explain to them, we have to create awareness among the students to understand their future or expected risk or hazard, so that they will prepare themselves, so that they will get prepared, so that they will react. Okay. Inculcation of culture, how it will prevent disasters. See, inculcation of preparedness, right, will reduce the risk, not will prevent the disaster. So prevention, yesterday you have seen what is the definition of prevention. Any activity or measures which will completely remove or eliminate or eradicate the risk is called prevention, right? So the inculcation of culture of preparedness will help you to reduce the risk, or culture of building a capacity will reduce the risk or mitigate the risk. So it's not mean that preventing the disaster, right? Yeah, that's all.
I think, sir, the question is over. So for the first session, Ma'am Nazia have given a very brief about this home-to-home school safety. And thank you so much, Ma'am Nazia, for elaborately explaining about the guidelines of disaster management at home as well as at school by showing very relevant pictures and the video clips. It was very interesting, and which made us understand more about the facts of disaster in different areas of countries and how we could manage it in the time of emergencies. And the very interesting thing about is that about the guidelines and the formation of the activity calendar at the school. Like ma'am have given a very clear example about like during the June and July, there is a seasonal disaster issues of cyclone, so that when we have the activity calendar at school, then teachers can prepare in advance about that. If this particular cyclone or flood or anything, if it's going to happen in advance, we can manage about that. We can think about what are the precautions we can take it. So I feel it is very important all the schools should maintain about this activity calendar for disaster. And in before that, we have to like June and July, as mentioned about this seasonal disaster, about this cyclone will come. So once we know that, if it has happened for every year, then again we can take care for that. We can do mock drills. Ma'am have given all very relevant and beautiful video clips about the mock drill, resource drill, rescue drill, demonstration for safety, many things. So likewise, all the schools need to maintain this activity calendar for disaster, which is going to be happen seasonally in across the year. So that's very important. So I feel that we teachers and the parents also, and all the learned members as well as all the elders, we should know about this so we can take care for our children, which is going to be happen at the time of the disaster. And the ma'am have given the information given by Ma'am Nazia. We feel that ma'am, you really motivated us to be interested in disaster management for children, so that we can involve more in the how we can take care for our children, as we all know that our today's children will be the future for our country. So that is why this will be our sole responsibility to take care for children in all spheres. So all the participants, and let's work together to take care for the children, to save the future generation. So thank you so much, Ma'am Nazia, once again. The next we have Sir Balu, who is very active and a very resourceful person from Child Centric Disaster Risk Reduction Center. NIDN, Government of India, and he also organizes a lot of programs relating to the disaster management across the country. Now we will have the topic from disaster impact on children. So let's have a good time with Sir. Sir Balu, please carry on.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for your kind words. I request you to give the privilege to share my screen so that I can share my PPT. Yeah, I have received it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I hope my PowerPoint is visible, disaster impact on children.
Yes, sir, it is clearly visible. Please carry on.
Sorry for the inconvenience. It's my good luck. When I started my presentation, the power has gone. Anyhow, I'll start the session. So in this session, we will be discussing about the disaster impact on children. I'll try to make it as the more interactive. So I request all the participants to kindly listen and respond to the questions, right? So that it will be more interesting. Otherwise, one way may not be much reached. So what will be the type of disasters like man-made disaster or natural disaster, biological disaster, right? So these disasters were directly affecting the children and also indirectly affecting the children. Let us take an example of COVID-19. Though in the initial first phase, the children were not much directly affected, but indirectly the children were affected a lot, as you all are aware, right? But if you take a flood or earthquake or fire, the children were directly affecting, right? And the loss of lives among the children are also higher than the adults, as we all aware, because of their physical reason and their dependency on their parents or any other. So if you refer the data, I'll show in the next slide how the children's death are told rate, right? So what I'm trying to say here is because of their situation and their dependency and their ability and their capacity, the loss of lives among the children is higher than the adults. And many times what happened, the disaster also separating the children from their families. See, as I think the Manipur is also vulnerable to drought and flood, right? Whenever there is a flood, in case of any child and parent who is stuck in the flood water, when a rescue team is coming, what they used to do immediately when a mom come with a child, first they used to take a child, right? So it's not a why we are doing that to save the life of the child, right? So at the same time, the child may not be willing to come from their mom. So we need to ensure that most of the time the children should not be separated from their parents even at the time of rescue. So we need to ensure, but at most the life is most important. If there is no option, we need to separate it. But we need to ensure that the children are not separated from their parents at any time or in the disaster or in the emergency. What happened when I was in a childhood, I remember that in my village there is a lengthy pond, and adjacent to the pond there is a village. One side the big hamlet and another side there is a smaller hamlet. And due to the flash flood, the tank bund was supposed to broke. So what happened immediately when the people realized that the tank bund is going to broken, all those parents, they have sent their kids to the main hamlet, right? And the parents were trying to collect their valuables and also the livestock and their assets and everything. So before all the parents reached the main hamlet, the tank bund got broken. So only the children were in the main hamlet and the parents were in the another side in the smaller hamlet. They were separated for almost 2 days because the flood water was flowing almost continuously for 2 days. Just can you imagine your 200 children without their parents and their relatives? They were being somewhere in the relief center. Just think of it. All the children were started crying and they were, it was very difficult to manage them. I was just still remembering those incidents, right? And many time the damage to the critical infrastructures like a school, Anganwadi building and primary health center or a park or playground. It's also these are the infrastructures are very much important and vital for the survival of the children. When these infrastructures were being damaged, and it is also affecting the children, right? They may not able to get a midday meal scheme. They may not able to go So overall, what I'm trying to say, whenever there is any disaster and emergency, it directly and indirectly affecting the children's, and the children are most vulnerable. And last year, I could able to see 2 years back when there was a flood in Bihar, the Anganwadi center itself, it was flowing in the flood. Let me do a small activity to bring the attention of all the participants, right? I request all of you to kindly take a notebook and pen. Requesting all the participants to kindly take a notebook and pen to do this small activity. Those who are willing to do this activity in the chat box, also you can use it, right? Okay. I hope everyone is ready for the activity. I hope everyone is ready for the activity. Yeah, good. Thanks for the response. Some people said yes, they are ready. So those who are having the pen and paper, you can write it in the pen and paper. And other people, those who are not having, you may use the chat box for answering, doing this activity. Okay, listen carefully first the activity. Then when I say start, then you can do your activity, right? Now, when I say start, you need to write A, B, C in alphabet order till Z, all 26 letters without any mistakes, right? And when you are doing this activity, please watch your time. How many seconds you are taking to complete this activity, right? I hope everyone understood. When I say start, you need to write A to Z in alphabetic order without any mistakes. At the same time, you need to check how many seconds you are taking to complete this activity. So when I say start, you can do the activity. I hope everyone is ready. Okay. So your time starts now. You can start the activity. You may write in your paper A to Z without any mistake in alphabetic order. Those who have done, you may write in the chat box how many seconds you have taken to complete the activity. Those who have written A to Z without any mistakes, you may write in a chat box how many seconds you have taken to complete this. Oh, good. Manita, 17 seconds. Mamika, 17 seconds. Good. Kurukshetra, Vinay, Goels, 30 seconds. 14 seconds by Jay. Jennifer, 20 seconds. 16 seconds by Mayobam. Okay, good. And Kujam, then 20 seconds by Dudicom Con, and 20 seconds by Consum. Great. I appreciate all the participants who are actively participating in this activity. Still anybody is there, because we have almost 190 participants. That's great. Was there any 50 seconds, 50 seconds, 57 seconds? Okay, fine. 20 seconds. Great. I think everyone is very Means carefully listening the session with notebook and pen, because no one has typed in the chat box. They have directly written in paper, pen and paper. That's good. Okay, that's fine. Now let us move on to the second activity. All of you be ready. Now the same exercise, when I say start, you need to write in reverse, Z to A, Z, Y, X, like this till A you need to write in a reverse. Okay, I hope everyone understood. When I say start, you can do that. Once you completed, you may type in the chat box how many seconds you have taken. Right? Yeah, you may start now. But please turn next page. One instruction, all of you turn next page and write. Don't write in the same paper or same page. Turn the next page and do it. Don't follow any shortcuts. Just try. All 26 letters from Z, Y, X in a reverse, you have to write. Once completed, you may type in the chat box how many seconds you have taken. Turn next page and write in the next page, not in the same page. Okay, 25 seconds. Okram. Layombi, 20 seconds, 23 seconds, 32, fine. Waiting for answer from at least 50 participants. Let's see. 25, 22, 40 seconds. Good. 35. Thank you so much to all the participants for promptly responding to the questions and the activity. Just let me change. Power has come. Let me change my connectivity. Wi-Fi connection. Still I was in the mobile connection. Yeah, I hope I'm audible to everyone.
Yes, sir. Very clearly audible.
Thank you so much. Some people more than 1 minute. That's fine, no issue. Now tell me, when you were doing in a reverse, what are the problems you faced, or what are the challenges or issues you faced? Just write in a single word. When you are writing in a reverse, what are the problems, challenges, or issues you faced? One is confusing, order, missing well-known letters, confused, the alphabetical order missed, okay. Confusing, not sequence, inability to recall the previous letter correctly, okay. Fear due to time count, disorders, okay. And it took so much time when you're writing in a reverse, right? Order, confusion, recollection, dilemma, okay. Not confident, so, and rechecking, okay. Almost forget alphabet. Forget, not used to write. That's fine. Okay, so you have told so many problems. Now tell me the reason why this problem was. Why you have faced these challenges, issues, or problems. Now tell me the reason. Already some people have given the answer, even though now I'm asking why this problem was. Okay, lack of exercise. We are not familiar, never practiced before, not practice. It was not in a practice, not practice. We didn't practice sudden activity. Okay, doing first time. Thank you so much. All are very active participants. Yes, of course, the major reason was we are not used to do that, right? It's not our routine. Our routine is writing A to Z. Exactly. Reverse is not usually done. It's not our routine. It's not our regular practice. That's the reason we have faced all these problems like confused or recall or extra time taking or missing letters or writing wrongly, right? So the same thing happens when the routine is affected. Just see, in a normal day, the children used to wake up in the morning, they used to refresh, have a breakfast, go to school, play there, study well, enjoy with the friends, and back to home and refresh, go to tuition or do homework, take a dinner and go to their bed. This is the routine of a child. When the routine of a child is being disrupted, then see the situation. They may not able to take a food on time, they may not able to sleep on time, they may not able to study, they may not able to meet their friends. Just when our routine is being affected, what are the problems and issues which we have faced? The same thing will happen to the child, right? Which will have a consequence in the entire life of the child till they become adult. It will also have an impact on their entire life. So because of the disasters, the routine life of the children is being disrupted, and it again has an impact on the entire life of the children in their growth and their physical and mental well-being, right? Just let me give an example. Tomorrow you are supposed to be in your office, maybe a school or college or any office, sharply at 9 a.m. It's very important. You can't take a leave, or you can't avoid, or you can't escape from that. It's very important. 9 o'clock you have to be sharply there, and you are going for an interview of a vice chancellor or some important position. So you are supposed to be there at 9 o'clock. But unfortunately, you are waking up at your home at 9 o'clock. What happens to you? The routine of the day is being disrupted. If you wake up in the morning, like a regular day, you used to refresh and get prepared, extra time you have to spend, and you used to go to the office. But unfortunately, you slept well and you are waking up at 9. What happens? Your routine is being disrupted. You may not take a food, you may not take a bath on time, you may not brush it very quickly. You used to rush it very quickly. You used to dress up and try to reach the place. The whole day has become like a emergency. That's what happening to the children also when the disaster and affect the routine of the child. Now let us take how these disasters affecting the physical health of the children. As we all aware, the children are most vulnerable because of their biophysical reasons. They are smaller in size, they need more breathing, they need a support from others. So when the child disaster comes, they are more vulnerable. And the disaster also can damage children's physical health. I think the Manipur people, you may face frequent like earthquake. How children's physical health is being affected because of earthquake? You may type in the chat box. Just one word or one sentence. How earthquake or flood affects the physical health of the children? You may type in the chat box. By the time I will also explain what happens when earthquake comes. In case if it is a heavy earthquake, the children may get injury or wound, or they may lose their life. Right? Many times the children may be killed. Their life may be also lost. In place of like a flood, what happens? They may be affected by some diseases. Right? I'm asking about only physical impact, physical health, not mental health. Right? So the children are physically also affected by the disasters. Many times the disasters also reducing the intake of calories and essential vitamins and nutrients. Right? Can anyone tell me how a flood or a drought? I think your state is prone to flood and drought both, right? How a flood or drought may lead to the malnutrition of the children. You may type in the chat box. How a flood or drought may lead to the malnutrition of a child. You can type in the chat box. By the time, let me explain. So now we understand that because of the disaster emergency, the children's physical health may be affected. They may get injury, they may get a wound, or they may be killed also, right? See the pictures, it's all an example. And see these slides in different disasters, in the different incidents, number of children's death, right? See here, starting from the Haryana fire accident and till this tropical cyclones, see the death rate of the children. So in every disaster, the children were died. They lost their life from 1995 to till 2021. And see this below data first. Number of children who are become orphan because of COVID-19. This is another data which we need to see. That at the end of this session, we will discuss how this disaster means when the child become an orphan, how their entire life has become tragedy. That we will discuss later. And in continuing with the impact on the health, many times the disaster can cut the access to the medical care. For example, you all are in Manipur, in a remote place of Ukrul. From Ukrul, you are 50 kilometers far away from the Ukrul city. I still remember I have been to Ukrul in around in 2015 or 16. I visited Manipur, Ukrul, right? And you are living 50 kilometers away from the Ukrul city. And there is a flood in the place and your child have a fever. What happens to that? You may not able to take your child to the hospital. So because of the disaster, the access to medical care is also being disrupted. The same thing happened when there was a COVID-19. Large number of children, they were not able to go for their treatment. Even I have faced a challenge. My child was getting a fever and was trying to take it to hospital, but all the hospitals were closed because of fear of COVID-19, and the entire medical team was focusing on the COVID-19 patients. So what happens when the regular fever, which is not treated on time, it may complicate it. And the destroy of health infrastructure also leads to the illness, and when it is not treated on time, it's become worse. And the non-disaster related health problems also may go untreated. Like there are a lot of adaptive patients, cardiac patients, they may not able to get a treatment on time because of the disaster and emergency, right? And the malnutrition also caused by the disruption in the food supply. In the previous slide, I was asking a question, how the children were affected, how a drought or flood leads to the malnutrition of the child. So what happens, I have seen a lot of almost 17 people have given an answer for that question. I will also explain. Because of the drought and flood, the crops may be damaged, all the assets may be damaged, right? So they may not able to, the poor family or who is going for a labor work or a farmer family, they may not able to feed their children. They may not able to feed their children. So there is a chance for disruption in the food supply, or there is a chance for changes in the food pattern, which may lead to the malnutrition. For example, I'll take because of drought, what happens? The production goes down. At the same time, the farmers also get, or the laborers also get a less income. When there is a less production in the market, there is a less supply, but there is a high demand. Because of that, the price goes up. At the same time, because of drought, there is no income from the family. There is a less income. So one side the prices are up, and another side there is a less income. There is a purchasing power cap. Because of that, the farmers or the normal human being, they may not able to afford to the regular food materials. Because of that, there is a chance for disruption in the food supply, which leads to the malnutrition of the child. And during this COVID-19, what happened? Large number of children were also, children's immunization schedule is also being disrupted, because the entire health system was focusing on the COVID-19 patients, and the parents were also not willing to take their children to outside or to the hospital due to the fear. So the immunization schedule has been disrupted for the large number of children, which may have a future health consequences to the children. Let me give 3 important indicators here. Whenever there is a disaster, when we try to evaluate the disaster impact on the health of the children, we used to see these 3 indicators. The first one is called child stunting. The child stunting means failure to grow adequately in height, which means less height, inadequate growth. This is being measured in terms of height for age. There is a standard height for age of the children with reference to their age of the children. And similarly, being underweight. This is, I think you all understand, being underweight means less weight. This is also being measured in terms of weight for age. And the third one is called child wasting. This is being measured in terms of weight for height. Each and every child should have a standard height as per their weight. So what happens at the time of disaster? There is a chance for child stunting, child wasting, and being underweight. How it happens? Again, it's caused shift in the food consumption or decrease in food supply. When the children are not getting enough food, or when the decrease in the food supply, or there is a shift in the food consumption, it leads to the child wasting or child stunting or being underweight. There are other reasons also nowadays in urban setup. The children were locked in a single room where they were not getting place to play, right? And even if there is a place to play, the children are not willing to go outside, and they were fond of mobile phones and mobile games. And the heredity is also another reasons for this child stunting, child wasting, and being underweight. Seeing this picture, you can easily understand what is actually a child stunting and child wasting and being underweight. And most of the school teachers, if you are a school teacher, you can easily understand this. In your classroom, you may have seen different children. Some child may have a height, some child may have a less height, some children are obese, some children are lean, right? Thinner. See the first picture, they all are 8 years old, means you can assume that they are third standard child. But see the first child and the third child, 5 and the 7 children, they all are taller. And the 4th children is shorter, right? And see the second picture, you can easily understand the normal child. The first one is standard, less height. Normal child means enough height, enough standard height and weight. And vested means less weight. See the bottom picture, normal child, normal weight and height, wasted, thinner than the normal child. And the third, if you see standard, shorter than the normal. And the fourth one, if you see wasted and standard, right? Usually the mother may knows that when you are giving a birth of child, you used to carry the child to the Anganwadi center for measuring the height and weight. If the child is not having enough standard height and weight, they may increase the supplementary food to the child to bring the child into the normal height and weight. Right? So these are the three major indicators were used at global level to assess the disaster impact on the children. Coming to water and sanitation, it's very relevant to the Manipur. Whenever you are facing any flood, what happens? The unhygienic conditions which leads to the lack of safe drinking water. And when you're having a lack of safe drinking water, which may lead to the infectious diseases to spread, right? So see this picture, a girl who is fetching water in the flood from the hand pump. This kind of situation we could able to see many times in the northeastern states like Assam and Manipur also, right? And this diarrheal illness, it also sometimes leads this during the floods because of this lack of safe drinking water and other things. It may lead to the diarrhea, cholera, and other infectious diseases. And these diseases also leads to the dehydration, and again, it's the children are become malnourished. So many times because of these diseases, when it leads to the dehydration, this dehydration can be a life-threatening for the babies and young children, that there is a chance to loss of life also. So we need to ensure the safe drinking water and sanitation at the time of disaster emergency for the children, right? So as you all aware, at the time of disaster and emergency, the children may lose their life. So during the COVID-19, you may all have experienced this. Almost more than 1.5 years, the schools were being closed for a longer period of time, and the children's education was affected. Now, I request all the participants to type at least one impact, how COVID-19 impacted on education of children. Something new I want. Don't repeat the same answer. Come up with something new experience which you had. How COVID-19 impacted on life, COVID-19 impact on education of the child. I request all of you to give at least one answer. By the time I'll give some answers to you. In a normal, like other disasters, whenever there is a flood or cyclone or earthquake, what happens? The school infrastructure may get damaged, or many times the learning materials also being affected. The children used to lose their school time, and the schools may be closed. They may not able to reach the school. Like in the previous session, we have discussed that when the flood comes, the schools were being closed. The children may not able to access to the schools. And it may also lead to the dropout also, right? When the schools are being closed for a longer period of time, and it may lead to the dropout. And many times when the families, they were losing their assets and their livelihood, they may not able to pay the school fees of the child. So again, it may lead to the dropout of the child. So here, I have given some incidents, some examples how a disaster affect the education of the child. And during COVID-19, we have seen how children were affected. I have asked all of you to give some answers. So there are a lot of answers in the chat box. Requesting all of you to read, and I want something different or something unique or what you have experienced. See, somehow we are trying to ensure the education to the child through COVID-19 through online education. But even though there are a lot of issues like the connectivity problem, the children were supposed to sit in the forest area for accessing they were supposed to sit on the top of the tree for their education to get the online classes. And in one family there were so many children, and there was only one mobile gadgets, but there was a 3 4 children, and so they may lack of gadgets or electronic tools, so they were not able to access to the online education. There were so many issues. Even can you guess what is this picture? Picture one, write one word. What did you understand about the picture one? What did you understand from the picture one? And you may also type about picture two. What did you understood from the picture two, or what is this picture is about? Place is not a matter to enjoy. Okay. So the first one is it was captured in Bihar after COVID-19. The schools were reopened, but at the same time there was a flood. After even 1.5 1 year, the girl who is going alone with a lot of enthusiasm to the school for learning. So there is a risk in her life, even though she's going to the school. The second one is taken in southern part of our country, where the children were sitting on the top of the tree for getting internet access for attending their online classes. So one disaster may lead to another risk. So let me give some of the examples during the cyclone Fani, how the children were affected, right? Cyclone Fani hit Odisha, and in Odisha, more than 5,000 Anganwadis and elementary schools and secondary schools were being damaged in 14 districts, and the roofs were also damaged along with the sources of water leads and kitchen sets. See how much investment we made into the children's education, but when the disaster comes, all the infrastructures were damaged, and think about their education and the investment, and the classrooms were also partially and fully damaged. And the students with the poor household, they also lost their books and their materials, and the children were also lost their cycles, right? And since the schools were closed during this cyclone, and the midday meal scheme is also discontinued, and the impact on higher education, the at this college and university, the libraries and computer centers were also being damaged, and more than lack of books were also being damaged. So tomorrow I have having one special session on mental health of the children, so you will be discussing. I'm not touching upon this. Apart from this all, if you see, the major impact on the children is the children were become child labor, right? And the COVID-19 is a reference. You all may aware that because of this COVID-19, large number of children were become dropped from the school, and they were become a child labor, and a lot of young children were getting early marriage, and the children, there was here trafficking also, and the children were become orphan, and they were also become a bonded labor. So being a stakeholder, how are we going to address those issues? So now we all understood how children are being affected by disaster, or how disaster impact on children. So we need to ensure the safety and security of the children even at the time of disasters. And we also need to ensure that they are getting a nutrition food, and their education is also ensured. So let us think, how are we going to do this? With this, let me stop here. I'll show a small video clips to you. From this documentary video, we have seen that how adolescent girls and pregnant women were being affected by disasters, and how this minimum initial support package MISP kits are helping to reduce their vulnerability and reducing their risk, right? So with this, we have we could able to understand how disaster impact on physical health of the children, and the importance of water and sanitation for the children, and the importance of disaster, impact of disaster on education, right? So with this, let me stop now, and if any questions are there, you may kindly place it so that I can clarify it. Any questions, you may kindly post in the chat box. There is a question, sir, one doubt, how disaster caused bonded labor? Child labor is okay, but how bonded labor? I'll show a case. Actually, due to lack of time, I didn't show to you. I'll show that so that you can easily understand. See this, there was a cyclone Kaja attacked in 2018 December, Tamil Nadu. I think it attacked Tamil Nadu. What happened? A person who was having a coconut orchard, he lost all the coconut trees because of cyclone, and he lost all the assets, and the livestock were also dead. And he has sold his 12-year-old boy as a bonded labor to the landlord for getting some lump sum money for his livelihood purpose. And later on, the district administration, district child welfare committee has found that, and they have relieved this person from the bonded labor. So disaster also leads to the bonded labor. Any other question? Let me check the chat box.
Yes, dear participants, any more questions from your side? So there is a question from Mandip
Yeah,
Singh.
I'm seeing. In a small age, a lot of pressure of study affects children health, schoolwork, homework. Yeah, of course, because of the pressure, their mental health may be affected. So what I suggest is, at the age of below, means when they are in a childhood, it's better to avoid giving a lot of pressures, right? It depends on the parents only, right? In some schools, they are giving a lot of heavy assignments, and they are sending the children to the different classes, like even music class, dance class, and mathematics tuitions. Like this, we are sending our children to different classes, and they are not finding time for playing. But each and every child, they also have a right to play. So we need to ensure that they are getting time for playing, and it is in the parents' hand. You can decide, not necessary to send your own child to all the classes, right? So it is in your hand only. How are you going to ensure the time or providing time for your children to play? Any other questions? For your information, tomorrow we are having two sessions. One is introduction to child-centric disaster risk reduction, and the second one is about mental health of children in disasters. Is it possible to include game in curriculum? It's already there in a sport. We have a sports session, right? In all the schools, there is a PET session, physical education session. It's already there. So is it possible to include game in the curriculum? As a being a teacher, if you are a teacher, you can nowadays all the primary level or teachers, they were making the children to learn through participatory learning method or activity based learning method, so that the children can learn through the activity based. right? So it depends on the teacher how best you are going to do that. Already norms are there and they are giving the materials also, so we need to implement it. There is a question, is there any rules to establish disaster cells in college? There is no any norms like that, but all the schools should have a disaster management committee, and also they should have a disaster management plan, a school safety plan. Each and every school should have it. And recently the UGC has given a guideline to incorporate a course on disaster management, but the colleges can come up with their own. There are many colleges who is already having the disaster management cell in their own colleges, so there is no restriction for that. You can come up with that. There any provision for providing disaster cell in schools? There is, I already said that there is no provision for making a disaster cell in the schools, but you can have in each school, one person is nominated for the school safety or ensure the disaster safety of the schools. And he is responsible to promote the disaster management committees with the children, and he is responsible for the making a disaster management plan, a school safety plan at their schools. Again, there is a question, in some schools there is no even a playground. So it's again a policy issue. Respective state government need to ensure that each and every school is having a playground. But if the school is in the rural area, definitely you might find some safe place for the children to play. Or within the classroom itself, there is a lot of games for the children to sit and play within the classroom itself. That kind of game also you can teach to your own children. If you need, you can see, or if you require, we also can guide some of the games which you can play within the classrooms. If require, you can promote the disaster management cell in your own colleges with the support of UGC or with the support of university or with the support of your own college. It's not compulsory, but if you find that your area is having if your state is a more risk zone or hazard prone zone, then you can come up with that. There are a lot of questions related to the school infrastructures. If you are a teacher, definitely you might be knowing, right? If there is no enough infrastructure or washroom facilities or any toilet facilities, of course you need to go. If it is a private school, you have to go through your school administration, or you have to approach the education department or district education officer or the district magistrate. You can approach to ensure the enough infrastructure for your school. And due to COVID-19 pandemic, most of the children are more interested in playing games than learning books. What is the message to be taken to overcome this problem? Playing games means they are addicted to mobile phone. That's what I could, based on our research and our observation, they are addicted to mobile phone, not generally playing games. So in that case, how you can change the behavior of the children, right? We need to engage them with productively. So you can teach them through the activity-based method or active learning-based method, and another method is through the punishments and rewards. If you are saying that those who are not using mobile phone for 1 month, you will be rewarded, you will be appreciated in the prayers. in the assembly. Like we have to give certain rewards to the children so that they will try to change the behavior of using the mobile phones. And the second thing, the parents also can go for certain punishments, or better is rewards and punishments is the one of the solution for the changing the behavior of the children, right? If they are most interested in playing in rather than learning, so we have to give a game based teaching. Okay, so respective state government need to take certain steps to improve the capacity of the teachers to teach the children through a game-based method. Or you can see a lot of books and guidelines and materials also available in the YouTube and other things which you can learn and you can teach your children. India, you cannot register yourself as a volunteer in the NDRF, right? NDRF is a National Disaster Response Force. Wherever rescue is required or relief is required, they used to go and relieve the people. But if you want to become a volunteer to do certain service during the disaster, you can register yourself as a volunteer in the UN volunteer website is there. And the second opportunity is you can visit the respective your own state disaster management authority website. You can there register yourself as a volunteer, right? But not with NDRF. And the question is related to counseling centers for schools and emotional behavioral balance. Tomorrow you have a session on mental health of the children. There is an expert. She will be answering to your questions. Your question related to mental health and counseling.
Yes, dear participants, you may have a lot of questions to ask to sir, and sir also capable of answering all the questions you ask. But for the time constraint, as there is limited time, so let's wind up for today. And tomorrow we have very interesting two sessions, and one is related to mental hygiene. So we will have a lot of we can have a lot of interaction, say time at the time, which is related to the child psychology, about this counseling also, whatever questions we are asked relating to mental problems, psychological problems, about the addiction to the mobile, which occurred during the COVID-19 pandemic, everything we can discuss tomorrow. So we were supposed to wind up at 1. So thank you so much all the participants for your active participation. And we also today we have around 200 participants, all are very active. And the sir also made us to be active by giving a lot of activities. All the participants could involve in that activities, and all are very useful. That the activities you have given to us, as well as the pictures you have shown to us and the videos you have shown to us, that really motivated us to think deeply into how much disaster affect the children in our country, as well as how much we can contribute to the society to save the children. And the video clip, it was so inspiring, and that really give a lot of information about the safety measures for children, especially for the girl child. Thank you so much for your wonderful session. And you have given a lot of informations, valuable informations, and you really motivated us that we feel that we could do something for the children during this such kind of disaster time. So thank you once again for your wonderful session, and once again thank you all the participants for your active participation. Let's meet again tomorrow with very interesting sessions. Thank you so much. See you again tomorrow. So kindly all the participants